Everyone here, whether a child or a grown-up, everyone here has had days or weeks or months or years when you've just been really grumpy and you just don't like anybody very much and you don't want to do anything you're told. We all know what that's like. And I'm going to tell you a story from the Old Testament that is both silly by design and serious by design, and it's about Jonah. And he is a grumpy, angry man who doesn't like anybody very much. So here it is, the story of Jonah. And just so you know, you're going to hear something in this story that you're going to think, that's not right. That's not in any of the picture books I ever read. That was never told to me in Sunday school like that. And I say unto thee, just go look at it for yourself. It's there. And grown-ups, we'll come back to this, I promise, in an actual sort of sermon. So there was a man named Jonah, which means dove, that gentle, peaceful bird. Jonah means dove. And there was this man named Jonah, and God said to Jonah, go to the great city of Nineveh and tell them that their destruction is near because of the way they have been living. To get there, Jonah had to travel over land that direction. So Jonah got on a boat and went over the ocean that direction. Exactly the opposite. Jonah did not want to do what he was told. And he got on that boat with a bunch of other sailors, and they said, who are you? And he said, I'm Jonah. And they said, what are you doing on this boat? And he said, I'm running away from my God. And they said, oh yeah. Because, everybody does that. And they're sailing, and all is going well until a storm comes up, and it gets really rough, and the boat is in danger of sinking. And so the sailors did the first thing sailors always did, and that was they started to throw things, not people, things overboard, heavy things, because the lighter the boat, the more likely they were to survive the storm. But the storm got worse and worse, and so finally they realized, one of us is at fault here. One of us has done something horribly wrong. Let's draw straws to figure out who it is. So they drew straws, and Jonah drew the short straw, and they said, it's your fault. And he said, yeah, actually it is. And they said, what have you done? And he said, you know how I told you I'm running away from my God? They said, yeah. Well, that's the God who made all the heavens and the earth. And they said, that's bad. That's bad to run away from a God like that. And he said, I know. Well, what should we do? And Jonah said, I'm afraid the only thing you can do is throw me overboard. Throw me into this stormy ocean. And they were nice people. They said, we don't want to do that. And so they tried instead to just row the boat to the nearest port, to the nearest land. But the storm got stronger and they could make no progress. And so they said, look, we're really sorry, but we're going to have to throw you overboard. So they did. And the moment they threw him overboard, the storm ended. And they were fine. But Jonah was not fine. Now, at that time, everyone in that time and place believed that when you die, your soul goes to an underground cavern where you just rest. Everybody who dies just goes to this place of rest. They called it Sheol, the place of rest. And Jonah wrote a poem later about his experience, and here's what he wrote. Here's what you won't like. Jonah wrote, I sank down through the ocean. I sank down through the seaweed. I sank down to the ocean floor. I sank beneath the ocean floor, beneath the earth. I sank down to the roots of the mountains, and I lay in the belly of Sheol, the underworld, place of the dead. And I just lay there. And I cried out. And I said, save me, Lord, and then I'll go to church. Jonah did not say, I'm sorry for going exactly the opposite direction. Jonah did not say, I'll go to Nineveh this time. Jonah said, save me, and I'll go to church. So God did save Jonah by sending a big fish. And the big fish, Jonah transferred from being in the belly of Sheol to being in the belly of the fish. And the fish carried Jonah back to this world and spat him up on a beach. And now we're halfway through the story of Jonah. How did Jonah do so far? God said, go that way, and Jonah went that way. God said, go to Nineveh, and Jonah said, no. Jonah ended up down in Sheol and said, I'm sorry, but just save me and I'll go to church. And he gets spat up on the land, and then it's like we hit the reset button and we start all over. And God says, hey, Jonah, go to Nineveh and tell them to stop living the way they're living or their city will be destroyed. And this time, Jonah went. And he traveled to that great city, and he walked through it once, saying, hey, everyone, your city's going to be destroyed real soon. And then he left the city. He did not call them to repent. He just told them they were all going to be ruined. And he went outside the city, and he sat down to watch the city get ruined. And then, from Jonah's perspective, something awful happened. Here's what happened. Everybody in the city of Nineveh realized they had been wrong, and they all said they were sorry. And they put on really rough clothes made out of sackcloth, very itchy, and they put it on. That's what people back then did when they were sorry, and they wanted to show that they were sorry. And they were so sorry that they decided to dress all their animals in sackcloth as well. So you have a city of 120,000 people and their animals all saying, or mooing, or cooing, or hee-hawing, that they're sorry. And Jonah, outside the city, realized that the people in the city had repented, had changed their ways, had said that they were sorry. And Jonah did not say, oh, good, God, you forgive them. Instead, Jonah said this to God, I knew it. I knew you wouldn't destroy them. And then he said something that we always think is a lovely thing, but when it was uttered in the Bible, it was a grump. And it's this: you are slow to anger and compassionate. Jonah wanted a fireworks show. Instead, he got forgiveness. He said to God, this is why I didn't go the first time. When you called me, he said this, when you called me the first time, I didn't go, because I knew you'd do this. I knew you'd just say, oh yeah, I forgive you. You're always loving. You're always forgiving people. It makes me so mad. So he was grumping on a desert hill, looking down on a city, and God took a little bit of pity on grumpy Jonah and caused overnight a vine to grow, and it made a lot of really nice shade. And then Jonah could just kind of grump in the shade. And the next day, the vine died. And Jonah said, now you killed the vine too. And God said, I gave you a second chance. Why shouldn't I give 120,000 people in a city a second chance? Do you really have a right to be this upset about a dead vine? And Jonah said, yes, I do. And I'm so angry that I just quit. I quit. I'm doing nothing anymore. And God said, if you're this concerned about a vine, shouldn't I be just as concerned, if not more, about 120,000 people? And you know what Jonah said to that? Me neither. Because that's where the story ends. That's it. That's the story of Jonah. It ends in the middle of a completely grumpy pout. A man is on a desert hillside under a dead vine, and he's angry because God just loves and loves and loves. The end. Andrea, do you want to come introduce something? I'm serious. That's the end. I suppose I could talk just a little and say, God's love is bigger than we are. God's love is bigger than us when we're at our best, and bigger than us when we're at our worst, and bigger than us when we're at our grumpiest. God's love is constant. Even to the enemies, like the people of Nineveh, God shows love. And Jonah represents us when we don't get it, or when we do get it and don't like it.